Hi.
You guys sit back there?
Scott, can you hand me one of those waters, please? Thank you.
Good, fire away.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Coach, UVA, Saturday. Sounds like the team are going to have a great crowd here, great atmosphere. Let's talk about playing them again and getting them back in our place for once.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for our team because we truly are playing one of the best teams in the country in UVA. I think Coach Bennett has done a phenomenal job with his program in so many different ways. But just watching them, they're playing at a high level right now in a lot of different ways, but particularly on the defensive end, which has always been their calling card. I think their personnel is terrific. A lot of those guys have gotten better and better, in the time they've been at Virginia. So it's going to be a heck of a challenge.
How difficult is it to get teams like this to come here? We talk about scheduling all the time, but when you talk informally with coaches saying, hey, we should play, what do they tell you? Do they say, I ain't coming? Or, how difficult is it to get a game?
It's extremely difficult. This is a rare opportunity, for our program, and there's a lot of different types of games you can schedule, but this was a home-and-home series where we played there last year, and they come here this year. And the reality is, there's very few schools in Virginia's conference that would play home and home or similar conferences. As I said last year, I'm appreciative of Tony for agreeing to play the game, and it is a rare deal.
Is there a likelihood of this continuing? I know your schedule's 2 or 3 years out, but I know you'd like to see it continue. What's the likelihood of it?
I'm not sure at this point. Everyone's got to do what's best for their program and what makes sense for each specific year, that when you're doing the scheduling. So we've spoken a lot. We had been talking about it. It didn't really work out for a couple different reasons for a few years, but we were able to schedule the home and home starting last year.
How much, everyone talks about their defense, how much does their defense look like something that every year they grow more into it and know it better just because they have a young team 2 years ago, and now a lot of those guys have played a lot of minutes?
Yes, their defense is certainly one that, it takes time to build. It takes repetition. There's a lot of different components of it that they emphasize on a daily basis. And, certainly when you have guys like Malcolm Brogdon, Justin Anderson, those guys have been around for a long, long time at UVA. They've had a lot of success. They've played that defense, and they've continued to get better.
A lot of people really had problems with that defense this year and in past years. How do you solve it? Like Maryland tried to drive it, you said last night.
Well, I think the goal obviously on offense is to get a great shot on every possession. And I think Virginia's as good as anybody in the country at keeping you from getting a great shot. So, for us, I think it's important for us to be aggressive on offense. We try to get the ball down the floor fast. But if you can't get a great shot early in the possession, you certainly don't want to force a bad one. It's important to screen. It's important to, have a level of toughness. One thing that Virginia really, I think, doesn't get enough credit for is that they're an extremely physical team. They're a very tough-minded team, and that's one of the ways that they keep people from scoring.
Coach, is this game kind of going to kind of be like a demonstration of the diversity and styles of basketball? You guys are obviously more up-tempo and with the press defense, and they have the pack line, and maybe it's a little bit slow.
Well, it definitely is two different styles, and I think one of the great things about sports is, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And to be honest, at the end of the day, you guys will probably write and talk about how one of the styles won out over the other, but it comes really down more to personnel and making plays. And last year, the game was played in the 50s. I believe it was 59 to 56. So if you go by tempo or number of possessions, you would say that's probably to Virginia's liking. But we were able to make some plays at the end of the game. Certainly, the game could have gone either way in the last 5-6 minutes.
Kind of along those lines, can you kind of talk about the key not only to kind of imposing your style, but also being able to adjust and being able to kind of, not play their game, but adjust to what they're doing?
Well, the first thing you mentioned was imposing our style. I think just being aggressive and trying to push the ball on offense, trying to attack. Then on defense, again, being aggressive, putting some pressure on the basketball. They're very composed. They run really good offense. They're extremely unselfish team. But as you mentioned, sometimes you play teams and they succeed in creating the tempo that they want, the speed that they want. I mean, that's Virginia's not the only team that does that. So you got to find a way to win. Playing however the game is unfolding, and it's not like no matter who we play, it's not like we're not used to playing half-court possessions on defense or offense. We just have to do it better.
Did you have more than a professional relationship with Tony before you two began career coaches together?
Well, I've always had a great respect for him. To be honest, I've been a fan of his for a long time. I grew up in the Madison, Wisconsin area. He was one of the best players ever, coming out of that state. And you talk about his defense. When he was playing at University of Wisconsin Green Bay, defense was very similar in that games weren't on the TV as much back then as they are now, but you'd see the score the next day, and it would be like 58 to 34, and you'd be like, how did they do that? But he was a terrific player, so I've always been a fan of his. I followed his career, and then really didn't get a chance to get to know him until, probably the last 5 or 6 years, and just had a lot of respect for him.
Where, within playing against that defense, where execution-wise, what do you guys need to do to find those good shots, to get those? What would you like to see happen Saturday offensively?
Well, as I mentioned, we have to make sure we screen. They're really good at what we would call defeating screens. Some teams are very screenable. They're not. They're very physical. I think it's important to move the ball, to move bodies. And then you got to be tough and strong when you do drive in there because they're really good at providing help to each other. They also, have good length and athleticism. Justin Anderson, I think for a wing player is as long and athletic as there is in the country. Mike Tobey has great size around the basket. Darian Atkins has been playing for a long, long time, understands their defense, and is a great anchor back there as well. Their guards are physical. Brogdon is strong, tough. Parentes really knows how to play. So, again, the personnel makes up the defense in addition to the philosophy that they have, and they're really good in both areas.
This may seem like an obvious question or a stupid question, but
No stupid questions.
when you're scouting a team, do you ever look at how they compose themselves and their ball handling and stuff, and like go into a game thinking you're going to probably have to go to plan B, that you're not going to fluster them and you have to be prepared to do something much different than what you normally do?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you have an awareness of who the other team has, but you never know exactly how teams are going to respond to different situations. And a lot of it ends up being the interaction of what your team does and what their team does. So, but certainly like a team like UVA, you realize, hey, they're not just going to give you the ball. They've got composure. They've got really good poise. It's tough to speed them up. But that doesn't mean we're going to cancel the game. So we're gonna play our style of basketball, and if we have to defend for 35 seconds, then that's what we have to do. For our guys, I think having an awareness of that going in is important.
This game last year was a big game for Trey. Big shot at the end and all that stuff. How do you feel like he's kind of answered the bell in terms of being more aggressive and being more what you kind of asked him to be? Yeah,
watching the tape, he really gets a lot of credit for making that shot, and it was a terrific shot, one I'll never forget. And he made some big shots before that to even put us in position. We were down 6 with, 3 minutes to go or so. But how has he answered the bell? I think he's gotten better each year. I think his confidence has grown, and I think as a senior now, he understands it is his team, and he's got to be more assertive than ever. He's not a type A personality. He's not a huge talker, but that's okay. We just want him to be aggressive on the court.
Shaka, I'm not from here. I see tents out here. I'm assuming that's for you in the game. and how rare is that?
Student housing shortage.
No, it's we're really fortunate here. We've got a terrific group of students and fans that support our team and have a level of passion and enthusiasm about our team. So we're appreciative of that.
They do that, though?
It's not the first time they've done it. I would say, it's got a few.
Once a year?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this would be the time? This would be the game?
I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again.
Yeah.
Because usually